Olá pessoal, eu estou aqui com ninguém menos do que Thom Kuhlmann, um dos diretores da Articulate e uma das grandes inspirações para o início da minha carreira. O Thom, ele é um cara que está muito atento à tecnologia, mas não apenas isso. Também é um trabalho de design institucional, trazendo a didática e o design e o conteúdo como parte das soluções que a gente trabalha. Eu vou fazer algumas perguntinhas para ele aqui, ele topou responder algumas perguntas para a gente, então vamos lá. Thom, nice to meet you. I would like to ask some questions because I following you since the early 2000 years, and all the content that you created is still useful for me in my career and the projects that I work up to date. And I would like to ask you in person what you think about the set of skills that the instructional designer needs today, 2023. What are the set of skills that a good instructional designer, in your opinion, need to have in order to succeed in this world, this current world?
So in the e-learning?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think, when we teach instructional design or course design, which is kind of like a blended terms, right? Like when I got started years ago and you built courses, you had a team of people, so you had an instructional designer who kind of worked through the content with the organization, and then we had a media person who might have built graphics, right? It's a graphics person. Then we might have had a multimedia developer. We had like an IT person that worked on bringing the courses into a server and, managing that whole process. And then when these rapid authoring tools like the Articulate tools came out, what happened is those teams became one person, right? And so a lot of times we talk about instructional design. It's a very broad context. So when you talk about the skills a person needs, we kind of focus on three main things. When you build a course, there's the content. So what content needs to be in the course? Because what you do in a classroom is different than what you do in an e-learning course. The second part of it is like, what's the look and the feel of the course? So that's the aesthetic part. Like, how do I engage a person and draw them into the course aesthetically? So this is the right visuals. Because there's a look that works for your content. If you're building a medical course, just from a color perspective, it's probably going to be teal and white and things like that. But if you're building a legal course, then that's going to have a more formal tone to it. Or if you're building something for children, it might have a more colorful palette and playful tone, right? So there's a look and feel that works for your course. And then the other part, which is often forgotten in e-learning, is like, what's the person supposed to do with the course, right? So you built a course, you got your content, you got the look and feel, but the course has to have some value. So what's the objective of the course, and what's the user, the person who's taking the course, what are they supposed to be able to do in the course? And unfortunately, that's often lost in the design of the courses, because a lot of times it's just content and not really thinking about what's the action that we're expecting from the users. So there's a lot of content, but that action part is often missing. So I would say from a skill set perspective, it's kind of a focus on those three things. In an ideal world, you could do all three. The reality is, instructional design is a career, multimedia design is a career. I think a lot of what's valuable to e-learning design, when you think about look and feel, there are similar characteristics to what you would do for game design. So if you were like an old Flash game programmer, those skills that would become very handy in e-learning. But those are all different careers. So I think the reality is learning the authoring tools and then understanding you have those three components. And if you can do those, great. If you can't, at least you know what other skills you need to bring into the courses that you build.
Okay, thank you for your answer.
Is that too long?
No, it's perfect. As you said, it's very interesting. You have the skills on authoring tools as well. Of course, the ideal word would be the whole package.
Right.
Okay, so the learning department of one person. Okay, but we know that people have limitations of time, of interest, of cost, and etc. And so they are not just a company of one person.
Right.
So do you think that the authoring tools skills is a nice match for instructional designers to work on their careers?
Yeah, I think, the reality is, like you were just saying, in a lot of organizations, they don't have big training teams. Even the big organizations don't always have big training teams. And so if you're an instructional designer, I think even if you're doing classroom instruction or things like that, there's still an online component to the training. So maybe you blend your courses with live facilitation. So being able to use these tools, and like on the Articulate side, you can learn RISE in really just a few minutes, and you can build a viable product that you can blend with your classroom instruction. And if you want to build more interactive type training, you have Storyline that you can do that. So it's a good tool set, but I think, if you're an instructional designer, even if you're not always doing e-learning, having an awareness and understanding of how to use some of the simple tools, I think is very valuable.
Very nice. So thank you, Thom, thank you for your answers, and let's keep fighting the good fight.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Can you say a hi for our public in Brazil?
Yeah, hello from Florida. Hope that you're having a nice day in Brazil.